to the Liberty Loving Kitchen, where the first ingredient is always love. This is my co-host,
Barrett Patton. Hey everybody.
and I'm his co-host, Patrick Patton. Today we're going to share with you how to make buttermilk and lard biscuits. If you were in for the last episode, we showed you how we rendered lard from leaf hog fat. Today we're going to put some of that to use and make some biscuits. So what we need first of all is 1,120 grams, or about 8 cups. I usually do everything by weight, of self-rising flour. We use White Lily. So I will measure that out first here.
And most biscuit recipes that I've ever seen or heard of use white lily flour specifically. And self-rising flour is also very important.
I always do flour by weight because they can compact, and most flours, when they give you a cup measurement, it means sifted flour. I don't care to sift the flour, so I sifted flour once, weighed different types of flour. Some weigh a little bit different, such as the all-purpose flour, or the basically the same though. But 8 cups weighs 1,120 grams. So got our flour here. The recipe that I have calls for 2 tablespoons of sugar. Actually, what I usually do is let's go ahead and take this and put this in a mixer, because I'm going to mix all the dry goods together first. Second, 2 tablespoons of sugar. We need 2 tablespoons of baking powder. And this is my own recipe, because it's hard to find a recipe with lard in them. So I kind of take most of my recipes, I like to change a little something just to make it mine, but I'll do this is Buttermilk Biscuits V5, version 5. So I went through a few different trial and error attempts to get what I wanted, and I'm pretty happy with this one. We've got 2 tablespoons of sugar, 2 tablespoons of baking powder, and we need a ½ teaspoon of salt.
These biscuits are really good. They're nice and light and fluffy, and they're going to be even better when we serve them with some lard gravy that we're going to show you how to make here in just a little bit.
We've got all of our dry goods here now. So what I'll do is put that in the mixer and I'll mix all that together. Simple as that. Then we're going to take some of that leaf lard we just made the other day, and we need 1.5 cups. So I'll take my measuring cup, and you can see the consistency here. So it can be a little difficult to fill up a cup container completely. And
as we mentioned before, lard is a great substitute for things like Crisco and shortening. Usually a lot of people use Crisco in their biscuit recipes, but we choose to use lard instead.
Correct. As you can see, I've got 1 cup here. What I do to fill up the cup real good, just kind of tap it down a little bit. You know you don't have any air pockets. And I'll just put that directly into my mixer. And I've got my beater bars, my mixing bars on there right now, just to make my mix. And there we go, 1.5 cups. Put the rest of that in there. I don't know if you noticed or not, but while I was mixing the dry goods together, you get a pretty good cloud of flour dust. And how you prevent that when you get the, well, you don't prevent it, but when you put the lard in there, you'll see that knocks it down a lot. I'm gonna grab my buttermilk while this mixes up. Now we have more of a mix that looks a little more like Biscuit, but it's not exactly Biscuit. I do have a recipe for that I'm going to show y'all someday. I'll take my bars off and I'll put my dough paddle on here. And now we'll measure out 4 cups of buttermilk. And this is a very sticky dough. So what I do after I make it here, get the dough mixed up, I'll scrape it out into a container and put it in the refrigerator for a few hours. Usually I'll do this the day before, but we're going to eat this evening for supper, which is something we do in the South a lot, is have breakfast for supper. But anyway, so I've got 4 cups of my buttermilk in there. And I always use whole buttermilk, none of the light fat stuff. We're using lard, but I will use full fat buttermilk.
And real buttermilk is the best, but if for some reason you don't have actual buttermilk on hand, you can take a little bit of vinegar and pour it into some regular milk, and that'll help spoil it a little bit and get it more like the buttermilk that we need.
Yeah, you can use like usually a tablespoon per cup of regular milk to turn it into, to kind of sour the milk, to make it more like buttermilk, which I did for many years, but there really is no substitute for real buttermilk. So I would say if you're gonna go to the trouble, get real buttermilk. In a pinch, you can use milk, and what you do is you just take a cup of milk, a cup of vinegar, like he said.
A tablespoon.
Yeah, a tablespoon of vinegar to a cup of milk, and then let it sit for about 5 or 10 minutes, and it'll kind of sour it, and you can use that in a pinch. But I say if you're going to do it right and use real buttermilk. But anyway, let's get this mixed up here. Okay, quick and simple. And you're going to notice one thing. You'll notice this is very sticky, very wet dough. And I use a little spatula to scrape the worst of it off the dough hook. Set this to the side. And it is very difficult. This has all been wiped down, so it's all clean. This is very difficult to, I mean, it just sticks to you like you wouldn't believe. So I'm going to put it into this container here, and I'll put it in the refrigerator. Like in today's case, we're going to be in there for a few hours. Typically, I would make this the night before we're going to eat it. But don't have this option today. But just by putting it in the refrigerator and chilling it for a little bit, that will make this much more manageable to handle.
Biscuits and gravy are about as southern as you can get, because Dad, I knew you said that Nana, your mom, and probably Mama too, your grandmother also used to make homemade biscuits.
Yeah, growing up this was, and still is, one of my, certainly my favorite breakfast. But yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite meals at any time. So we got this in here. You can see the consistency there. It's kind of a, you see the air pockets, but it's a very sticky dough. And we'll lid it up. I'll put it in the refrigerator here in just a second. Like I said, we'll leave it in there for, in today's case, 3 or 4 hours. Typically I would do this, like I said, the day before and leave it overnight and then roll it out into biscuits. But yeah, we're going to be doing that here shortly. But so we're going to do this for now. We'll be back instantly. But thanks for tuning in. If you would, please hit that, smash that like button. I think that's the way we're supposed to say it, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And if recipes like these are the kind of stuff you're looking for, then feel free to also go ahead and hit that subscribe button and maybe leave us a comment down below letting us know that you subscribed, and we'll do our best to personally respond to as many of you as we can. And also feel free to share this video.
Also let us know what your favorite breakfast is, and if where you're from people eat breakfast for any of the meals. Like we're more likely to eat biscuits and gravy for dinner or supper, either one. So it's not just a breakfast food around here. But anyway, let us know your thoughts, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
We'll be right back here on the Liberty Loving Kitchen.
Thank you. Okay, we are back. The dough has been in the refrigerator cooling for roughly 4 hours since we put it in there. We are now going to turn it out onto our work surface. Typically, we would probably do this I would usually make the dough the night before I'm going to cook it. But in this case, we didn't have time to do that, but it won't make any difference. It's just better to have it chilled first before you actually roll it out. It's very hard to roll out unless you do that. You're going to spread out some flour on the work surface. And it's still, as you will see, pretty messy.
Messy and wet though is what you want for biscuits, so if it starts to stick, don't worry, that's what you want.
Actually, I prefer it not to stick, but it does stick. I don't know why. And I'm going to work the worst of the dust off. And then turn it over on itself. Well, that's why you need a lot of flour. It doesn't like to come up. It is a sticky mess at times. And what that'll do is turning it on itself, you will make it flaky Don't have too much flour on there when you do that though, so it'll stick together. It should be a little bit one more time here. And if you don't want to, you don't even have to roll it out like that, if you prefer not to. Okay, let's start making some biscuits.
Yeah, some people I've seen just pinch their biscuits out by hand.
I have some that'll do that way, but not this kind. You want to knock it straight down and not twist it. You can see the layers there. What that'll do, you'll see when we cook it, how it'll make it flaky. So do that, pop it straight down, gives it a nice clean cut. If you twist it, it'll tend to mash it down on itself.
And this dough recipe that we have made should give us about 30 biscuits.
Now, a lot of people like to, they say you should run your biscuits all the way up next to each other, and I guess that's fine. I've always kept a little space between mine so they get done cooked evenly all the way around. Probably get one more right here.
Some people like to cook their biscuits in a cast iron skillet. I mean, still oven bake them, but you know, put them in a cast iron skillet rather than a baking sheet.
I'm going to put this dough aside, and I'll mix it all up together here in a second. Get my other half out here, and let's roll this out.
Let us know down in the comments if anyone in your family made or makes homemade biscuits themselves.
Get those little dough parts out. Flour it up again. Now make sure it's all roughly 3/4. That's pretty close. And cut some more biscuits here.
Is that a biscuit cutter or is it just a regular, like, cookie cutter or whatever?
It would cut anything. That it can cut. I should have refloured that a little bit. That was sticking just a tad. And these are, my cutter is a 3-inch cutter. So that's about as big as I usually go. I've done 3.5 before, but that makes a really large biscuit. Typically what I'll do is either 3 or 2 3/4. Either one of those makes a nice, not too big, not too small of a biscuit. And I did not coat the sheet here with anything because if you remember, we've got quite a bit of lard in the biscuit itself. So it's kind of greasy, I guess you'd say. Alright, we'll take all of our leftovers from those two batches and we'll mix that back up. And let me get a little bit more flour out here. This is messy, but very much worth it. These, because they have so much flour already in them, aren't going to come together quite like the original ones did. And I could probably do this better. And that's a good question for you. If you have a better way of doing this without making such a mess, as you can see, I can certainly use that. So let me know that down in the comment section.
Our mother would appreciate your help.
Yeah, that's kind of our deal. Usually I cook most of the food and usually she'll clean most of it up. Most of them a mess.
Sure smells good though, the dough.
Cut these up again. Sticks I'm using, those are the square dowel rods you can pick up at Home Depot or any hardware store. These are 3/4, and that's usually what I roll out to. I like to have about a 3/4 inch biscuit, and of course you see that I'm rolling it thinner than that, then flipping it over on itself. And we'll do this one more time, use up the rest of our dough. Let's see if I can incorporate this back into itself a little bit better this time. I want to make sure you get all your toaster leavings. Now toaster leavings, is there anybody out there that's heard toaster leavings before? And what person made that famous or used to say toaster leavings? I know my boys know.
I don't remember the person.
I know Billy does. Right? Really? Well, I'm disappointed they don't remember. But some of you guys out there, roughly my age, should remember who used to, his wife wouldn't cook for him, he would get toaster leavings from, give you a hint. And y'all don't say it if you know it. From Peg. He would say, oh, Peg, who ate all the toaster leavings? Because that's what they would make, because she would not cook for them. So, let me know in the comments if anybody knows that. That's a good one. I used to love that show.
It's the one with the guy
I gave you all the hints I'm going to give you.
What's that show called, Barrett?
I gave you all the hints. Y'all aren't supposed to guess this. This is for our viewers.
Yeah, but
this is for our audience.
But they're later in the video now.
Huh?
They're later in the video now, though.
Who are?
The audience.
I'm not sure what that means.
I mean that we're further along in the video. We could discuss it now.
No.
Okay.
Because how can we discuss it? It shouldn't be. It should be answered in the comments, not
But
on the video.
they likely commented at your question.
The comments can't be there before the video's there.
No, but
YouTube, tell
if
him
the question is at 4 minutes into the video, and you ask for a comment, if they're going to comment, at least my YouTube behavior, I would comment right then.
Oh, I would comment.
And not remember 12 minutes later.
I would comment at the end.
Uh-huh.
And then I can answer in the comments. Anyway, I'm sure a lot of people will get it. Like I said, guys my age. Made a couple more biscuits out of this here. Same process. Just over again. Good to have a scraper and a clean work surface. Did I clean this before we started? I think I did. Okay. And on this one, what's left, this is going to be a real dense biscuit. Like the guy holding the camera.
Not holding the camera much longer.
There we go. And we have got
That is a dense biscuit.
9, 10, 11 plus 15.
26 biscuits.
26 biscuits. And what we will do they're better if they're covered for a while and let them kind of rise up. You're good, don't move. I will put these in the oven at 100 degrees, which is just a warm day. Now I'll pull up just a little bit and turn to the right. Just rotate right there, brother. And go forward. You're good.
I'm elevated, so it's slow.
It's okay. You're fine. And come back. Leave those in the oven, kind of rising up a little bit for the next little bit. While that's taking place, what we're going to do is we'll go outside. I guess I'll make this another video. Click right here to see it. That video will be us making our bacon and sausage. And I think when we have out here, you got something to say about the bacon and sausage, don't you? Anyway, we'll see you in a second. Back in here with the biscuits and finishing up with the gravy. But in the meantime, while we're doing this, check out our bacon and sausage video. Be right back. Okay, we have finished cooking our meat, which is in another video right here. So check that one out as well. That's just us cooking some bacon and sausage, which is obviously there's no recipe for that unless you make it yourself, which we did not. Anyway, we're going to make the gravy now, and in just a moment we'll put the biscuits in the oven. Got it heating up to 450, but let's get started on the gravy. I use lard. A lot of people like to use bacon fat, and you can. That's just not my preference. And my family likes it this way too as well. Got our gravy. Grease going in here. Turn the heat up here a little bit. Get this warmed up. And you see it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So I like this to kind of start crackling just a tad. And then while it's doing that, I'll pick this up just a little bit. She doesn't want to be on camera, but I'm going to call my wife in here real quick. Yo, JP! Can you come here a second, please? Wanted to give a special shout out to Jennifer Patton, my beloved, well, my wife, for she took care of all the cleanup while we were out cooking the meat. So, yay, Jennifer! Bailey. Audience claps, goes crazy. Thank you for that. All right, now we should be getting warm on the lard. Oh yeah, see? Frying us up some flour. And I don't really measure any of this. I put a nice little spat of lard in there. And I'll tell you what, I think I just added a little bit too much flour. So I'm going to throw just a hair bit more. Lard in there, but it won't take just a tad, I don't think. Yeah, that should be pretty good. We're going to cook this for a few minutes and let it brown the flour pretty decent. Not too brown, but certainly be cooked. You don't want, this is about the consistency I like on the gravy as far as the flour, the cooked flour. Just keep it moving on a medium heat here. But I like it where it's just not all bunched together. To me, that's too thin. It's a little greasy that way. And then if you put too much more flour in here, it's just a little too floury for me. So this is about the consistency I like this. I guess you'd call roux before I add the milk. And on my milk, I use whole milk. And as well as whole milk, what you want to do when I set this out about 2 hours ago, just to kind of let it get room temperature. It makes it easier, the gravy is easier to make with a kind of a room temperature milk, more so than if you pull it straight out of the fridge. You can do it straight out of the fridge. If I remember, I just try to do it this way. And you got to keep it going once you start putting the milk in here. Watch how this thickens up really fast. Look how thick that's already gotten, see? Instantly. Put a little more milk in there. And sometimes you think it's not going to incorporate, but it usually does. You just got to keep stirring, working it in there. Still on medium heat, which once I get to about where I want to be, I will turn down. Now so far all we've got in here is the lard we made on this video, and a little bit of flour and some milk. And I don't measure anything. This is one thing I make just based on what it looks like and what it feels like. So most of my other recipes, I have a set recipe so I can always duplicate it the way I like it. But on this one I never have. I'm gonna turn my heat down just a tad. And I'm gonna continue putting a little more milk in here. Now, like I said, we've got 3 ingredients. We've got lard, flour, and milk at this point. And the only additions we have to make to this are salt, which I will go ahead and just go straight out of the shaker. And I try not to put too much in. But after I pull the biscuits out of the oven, which I'm going to put in here in just a second. Matter of fact, I'm going to turn this on low, and we'll go ahead and do that. Now we've got 15 biscuits here. How many? 15 will probably be enough for us, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do with these, I've got an additional partial sheet. But I'm not going to cook those. I cook these for 12 minutes at 450. But I cook them for 8 minutes plus 4 minutes is my vernacular, what I like to say. I cook them for 8 minutes, and then I will spin them around. And that's in a convection oven, so you might need to adjust that a little longer or up a little bit, possibly. But then I'm going to take these and I will set them aside for now, but later they will certainly be, put them in the freezer, and those will be biscuits we'll eat at a later date. So they are definitely freezable. In my opinion, they're much better made fresh, like we're eating them now, but you don't always want to take all the time and make all the mess. So it's real nice to have them frozen as well. You can cook them frozen. I try to always get them out a couple hours ahead of time and let them fully thaw. Now we'll get back to the gravy. You don't want to leave the gravy too long unattended. Turn the heat down to get it to walk away. I'm going to grab a couple spoons to test. You're good. Keep going. Now I'm going to add a little bit of pepper, and by a little bit of pepper, I mean a lot of pepper. I like a lot of pepper in my gravy. And then I will put even more pepper in my gravy, because everybody doesn't like as much as I do. So I put this much pepper for the group, and then I will additional pepper my gravy when we sit down to the table.
Would Joe put down like gravy with his pepper?
That's not a joke, that's true. I'll turn the heat up a little bit more and get the and I don't think I'm quite ready yet. I'm gonna go ahead and stick a spoon in here and just see what it's looking like. Yep. Still tastes a little milky. And as it cooks down, it will start to turn more into a gravy flavor. It won't have such a milked taste to it. But I can't stress enough, keep stirring it. I use a whisk. You don't have to use a whisk. That's my preference though on this. Oh, and I do always also recommend, the only way I've ever cooked it, I recommend using a cast iron Dutch oven type. You can cook it in a skillet, but to me a skillet will not provide the volume to make the volume of gravy I'm going to make. Because you're going to see in a few minutes when we sit down to eat, I like a lot of gravy. And you'll see what that means in just a second. I can feel the consistency start to thicken up now too. This is one of those things that, like I said, it's hard to give you a recipe for. And even if you have a recipe, it's just one of those things you've got to do a few times, typically before you get really good at it. And I'll still mess it up if I'm paying attention to something else, which I often do. It's easy for it not to come out just the way you want it. So that's why I like to get all my meats cooked. The biscuits, get this started before I put the biscuits in, because when I do this, it's better if I've just got the one thing to worry about. I'm going to get another clean spoon. Let that cool off just a little bit. Now, if I wasn't making a video, I'd just use the same spoon over and over again. Oh yeah, we're getting there. But that's probably not appropriate. Yeah, and that is 8 minutes. I'll come around this side. You can get it when I open the door. Let's see what it's gonna look like. Woo-wee! That's a pretty biscuit. You can see what rolling it out and folding it over in layers did to it. You can see the layers of biscuits right there, which is the way he wants. Well, he gets. And we'll put this down for another 4 minutes. One of the more exciting videos I've seen before. Follow me back over here, please, for a second, son. One of the great videos is just watching biscuits bake. If you like watching biscuits bake, go ahead and hit that like button and share and subscribe. And what do you think, man? What else? Anything else they can do?
Tell a friend.
Tell a friend.
But let me go ahead and do this while we're waiting for the biscuits to finish cooking. I have a very important question for all of y'all. We are going to let y'all decide what we make for our next video.
Ooh, what? Who said? Did we talk about that?
We did. You may not remember, but we did. So, well, you know. So I need you to let me know down in the comments which of the following 3 choices you'd like to see next. Option number 1 is our gourmet mac and cheese.
Woo-wee.
Now this mac and cheese is certainly not just
Did you say mac and cheese?
This mac and cheese is certainly not your ordinary mac and cheese. It is easily the most requested and most popular dish that Dad makes, and it is my personal favorite. So that's option 1. Option 2 is our thin crust pizza dough. So Dad's been making regular hand-tossed pizza for a number of years now. But recently, while visiting his very best friend, Mike Roberts, and Mike's wife, Melissa, they went to a local Fort Worth, Texas pizza joint called Campese's that is known for their cracker-thin crust.
Mamma mia.
So he wanted to try to figure out how to recreate that, and he has done that quite successfully because that is our go-to pizza.
Well, I don't know if I recreate it exactly, but it's a good thin crust pizza.
And lastly, our third option is for all you pasta lovers out there, cheese manicotti.
Or pasta likers. Pasta likers included too.
Now, Dad loves cheese manicotti, or really, he just loves cheese anything. But most Italian restaurants don't typically have just a plain cheese manicotti. So he figured out how to make it himself, and it's really good. So I need you to let me know once again down in the comments what you'd like to see next. Gourmet mac and cheese, thin crust pizza dough, or cheese manicotti.
What will you vote, son?
I'm rooting for the mac and cheese personally.
And other son, what will you vote?
I probably won't be here for the meal, but mac and
Well,
cheese.
neither will anybody else listening to this, probably.
Probably the mac and cheese. I'm the cameraman. I'm not supposed to be on video.
Now, why would you pick the mac and cheese?
Because good mac and
What
cheese.
would your fiancé say?
Jocelyn would probably also say mac and cheese.
Ooh. Let's see what the biscuits are looking like. I think they're done. Camera guy? I think that is exactly how I envisioned them. What do you think, YouTube? Does that look like something that is appetizing? Got a little piece of, got a little brown on it. And look, remember I told you they didn't need to be anything to keep them from moving? I spoke too soon, didn't I? I did not. Yes, yeah. No sticking. Well, let's get to fixing. We're gonna put it back on the tripod here for a few minutes. And I think we will prepare our food, and we're gonna let y'all stay with us for a few moments while we fix our food, and you can see just what this looks like.
You making Barrett?
How many biscuits you want?
In the gravy,
Mm-hmm.
two.
I'm gonna do 1.5. I don't think I get enough gravy in there otherwise. And I come back and get the other half. Along with our biscuits. And go. Now Bailey does the traditional biscuit pour. Whole biscuits smothered with gravy on the top. Mmm. Barrett likes his broken up, as do I, and smothered in you get a much higher gravy to biscuit ratio this way. And really, in my opinion, your biscuit, or rather should I say, your gravy to biscuit ratio is where it truly comes out. So I will be doing as Barrett did with my biscuits torn up in a bowl. And yes, I know this is not the traditional way to eat biscuits and gravy. However, it is the way I eat biscuits and gravy. Look at those biscuits though. Aren't those pretty? Yeah, look at that. You can see how the layers come up there from how we rolled that out. That may be a better example. JP?
Yeah.
Can you put the biscuits on the table for us? Do you have anything for that?
Uh-huh.
Now I ate my gravy more like soup, as you can see here. And you've always got to work it down in there. That may be enough, but you can't have too much. Now we invite you to join our family as we eat on this very Good Friday. Biscuits and gravy. We should probably all sit facing the camera like they do on TV.
Should we? Bear would love the blessing.
Yeah, I would.
Barrett will ask the blessing.
Are you counting a whole meal?
Father, we're grateful for this day. We're grateful for this chance to spend time together as a family. We're grateful for this food that has been prepared. We ask that you bless it to the nourishment of our minds, hearts, and bodies, Father. And on this Good Friday, we're especially